The movie starts with a scene of students rushing out of a classroom to buy food for the school bullies, led by Jae Song and his vice, Song Hoon. These bullies often use weaker students to run errands for them, including buying food, which they use for betting on who will return the fastest. Unfortunately, these weaker students also become targets of bullying themselves. After a wait, one of the errand boys named Jung-woo finally returns as the fastest, winning the bet for Jae Song and making Song Hoon upset for losing, leading to Song Hoon beating up another student named Jong Duk. After school, Jong Duk walks home with Jung-woo and continues watching street fighting matches on his phone, expressing his desire to become strong to avoid being bullied. Jung-woo reminds him that just watching fights won't make them truly strong because they need to practice. Back at home, Jung-woo thinks about an incident at school where Jae Song asked to meet him on the weekend. Initially, he wants to decline the request, but he eventually decides it's hard to refuse given Jae Song's influence at school. The following day, Jae Song and his group gathered the less strong students to make an important announcement. They told them that all the errand boys had to take part in a street fighting competition where they would have to fight against each other. Just like always, this competition turned into a betting event for Jae Song and his friends. Jae Song mentioned that the competition would go on for a whole month and was set to begin on the upcoming weekend. The errand boys felt to avoid being bullied by the school bullies who were organizing this event. At the same time, there was a girl named Min-na who was facing harassment from some senior girls who were part of Jae Song's gang. According to rumors, Min-na had transferred from another school after being bullied there too. Nearby, Jong-woo and Jong-duk secretly observed Min-na and Jong-woo started to have feelings for her. When they were at school, Jong-woo tried to get closer to Min-na, but she didn't seem interested in him. Jong-woo was determined to win the street fighting tournament, so he began training by copying some moves he had seen from professional fighters on the internet. Little did he know, his younger sister, Jong-noon, was watching him practice street fighting moves in his room, finding her brother's behavior quite strange. On another school day, Jong-woo crossed paths with Jae Song. Jae Song gave him a warning, telling him to win the upcoming street fighting competition because he had placed a bet on Jong-woo's victory. If Jong-woo could come, Jae Song promised to protect him from their group's bullying, but if Jong-woo lost, Jae Song threatened to hurt him. Jae Song also asked Jong-woo to meet him in the park later that night. When night arrived, Jong-woo reluctantly followed Jae Song's instructions and met him in the park. To his surprise, Jae Song asked Jong-woo to fight against Jong Duk, who was also present. Jae Song wanted to see how well Jong-woo could fight before the tournament. However, Jong-woo didn't want to fight his friend, so he decided to escape from Jae Song. The next day, because of what happened the previous night, Jae Song punished Jung-woo and warned him not to run away during the tournament. When Jung-woo returned home from school, he was frustrated with how Jae Song treated him and started thinking about ways to get stronger. Upon reaching home, Jung-woo's father told him that his uncle, Kung-woo, had visited. Hearing this, Jung-woo remembered that his uncle had a place for street fighting training. He rushed to meet Kung-woo and asked for his. When he arrived at Kung-woo's place, Jong-woo expressed his desire to train in street fighting to become stronger. Kung-woo then took his nephew to a training facility and introduced him to a street fighting coach named Ryu. After getting acquainted with Ryu, Jong-woo began training for the school's street fighting tournament. On the day the street fighting tournament begins, Jong-woo is set to go up against Kyung-soo, a big and favorite opponent among the elite students who are betting on the fights. But Jong-woo isn't scared because he's been training hard for this tournament. When the fight starts, Jong-woo and Kyung-soo exchange punches, and Jong-woo initially struggles. However, Jong-woo finally uses a powerful punching technique he learned from his uncle's training, and with one strong punch, he defeats Kyung-soo. Later, when Jong-woo meets Kyung-soo in the school hallway, Kyung-soo praises Jong-woo's strength and encourages him to win the street fighting tournament. After school, Jong-woo heads to Kyung-soo's training facility to continue his training. At the same time, his sister Jong-moon notices that her brother isn't going home and becomes curious. She secretly follows him but loses track of him when he turns onto a different street. Back at home, Jong-un sees that Jong-woo has bruises on his body and suspects he's been in a fight. When she asks him about it, Jong-woo tells her not to interfere and forces her out of his room. The next day, the street fighting matches continue under a bridge after school. In one of the matches, Jong Duk, who is new to street fighting, faces off against Song Ryo. Despite his lack of experience, Jong Duk wins the fight quite easily, surprising the elite students who had bet against him. After the match, Jong Woo congratulates Jong Duk on his victory and even gives him some money since he had bet on his friend. In the following matches, the participants are trying hard to win because they're afraid of Jae Song's punishment. Jong Woo is feeling more and more confident in his street fighting skills because he's determined to win the tournament and break free from Jae Song's control. As Jong Woo advances to the next round, he keeps training with Ryu to learn new street fighting techniques. He shares his victories with Ryu and Kumwoo, and one night, Kumwoo invites Jong Woo to dinner to celebrate his achievements, along with Ryu and some others. While they're all talking, Jong Woo suddenly shows up and scolds Jong Woo for drinking with older men. However, she realizes her mistake when she sees Kumwoo returning from the restroom and apologizes for causing a scene. Kumwoo then introduces Jong Woo as his niece. After the dinner, Jong Woo and Jong-un walk on together, and he explains to his younger sister that he's been training in street fighting at Kumwoo's facility. Jong-un feels relieved and happy to learn that her older brother isn't involved in fights as she had thought. On another day, Jong Woo had to face another student in the street fighting tournament. Despite taking a hit, Jong Woo used the various fighting techniques he had practiced and quickly turned the tables to win the fight. Jae Seong noticed Jong Woo's improvement in fighting and became suspicious that he was training in street fighting. However, Jong Woo tried to hide it by lying, saying he wasn't doing any training. Jae Song seemed unsure about Jong Woo's words and ordered his friends to fight Jong Woo. But his friends refused, so Jae Song punished Jong Woo by making him buy a specific amount of food for him. While on his way back to school with the food Jae Song had ordered, Jong Woo ran into Min Na. She gave him a handkerchief when she saw the bruises on his face from the previous fight, and Jong Woo felt happy to receive attention from the girl he liked. After school, Jong Woo met Min Na again to return her handkerchief and invited her to walk home together. During their conversation, they talked about Min Na's difficulties in school, including her experiences with bullying. Jong Woo was surprised when Min Na mentioned that she didn't mind the bullying. They also discussed the street fighting tournament that Jong Woo was in, and Min Na mentioned hearing rumors about him being the best fighter. Jong Woo felt embarrassed and downplayed his abilities, saying that many of his opponents were more skilled. Min Na then expressed her support for Jong Woo to win the tournament and asked him to stay safe. Jong Woo felt happy hearing her words of encouragement, and he said goodbye when her bus arrived. Little did he know, Min Na didn't immediately board the bus and watched him walk away. Another day, Jong Duk got into another fight with a stronger student and got badly hurt. Jong Woo couldn't stand to see his friend in such a state, so he asked Jae Song to stop the fight. However, this made Jae Song angry, as he felt Jong Woo was trying to give him orders. He even got ready to attack Jong Woo with a wooden block. Thankfully, Jae Song's girlfriend stepped in and reminded him that Jong Woo still had rounds to compete in the street fighting tournament. To avoid losing his best fighter, Jae Song decided not to attack Jong Woo. Later that night, Jong Woo met with his two friends, who were also his opponents in the tournament. During the meeting, Jong Woo suggested that they should stop blindly following Jae Song's orders and start resisting. However, someone secretly took photos of their meeting and reported it to Jae Song. As a result, one of the students who had met with Jong Woo was confronted and beaten by Jae Song's group in an attempt to find out Jong Woo's plans. The student claimed not to know anything and said that Jong Woo was handling all the planning. In the next fight, the two students who had met with Jong Woo were made to fight each other, making Jong Woo believe that Jae Song had discovered their meeting. During the ongoing match, one of the students became exhausted and badly injured. However, Jae Song refused to stop the fight. Tensions rose when the injured student fought back with a weapon, seriously hurting his opponent. Jong Woo, witnessing this, looked at Jae Song with anger in his eyes. Not long after, Min Na spotted Jong Woo sitting in the school garden, lost in his thoughts. He felt guilty about what had happened to his two friends, knowing they got hurt because of him. This guilt made him lose motivation for his training, so Jong Woo decided to seek advice from Kumwoo. On the other hand, the Jong-un also started learning self-defense techniques from Ryu. After their training session, Ryu noticed that Jong Woo seemed downcast and invited him to his house to encourage him not to give up on the tournament. Ryu also shared his regrets about not being able to protect his son, who had also been a victim of bullying. After meeting with Ryu, Jongwoo reflected on everything his coach had said. On his way home, he was surprised to see Jong-un being harassed by a group of girl bullies and rushed to help her. Jong-moon thanked her older brother for saving her from the bullies, and they had a meal together in front of a convenience store, chatting before heading home together. The next day, Jong-woo appeared re-energized for his street fighting training with Ryu, who taught him about submission techniques. After the training, Ryu reminded Jong-woo not to always stick to the rules inside the ring, as it could make it difficult for him to execute or defend against his opponent's attacks. While in the school cafeteria, Min-na suddenly walked up to Jong-woo as he was putting away his tray of food and asked him to go out with her on the upcoming weekend. Jong-woo happily accepted the invitation with a smile. Meanwhile, Jae-song and his friends came up with a plan to allow the fighters to use objects during their matches. As a result, when the matches resumed, the student servants who were competing deliberately brought in various items to help them win the fights. Despite the fights getting more intense, Jong-woo eventually won the tournament and made it to the finals. To prepare for the final match, Jong-woo continued training with Ryu, who also knew about Jong-woo's upcoming date with Min-na. Ryu suggested a place for Jong-woo to take Min-na. Later on, as Jong-woo was getting ready for the date, he asked Jan-hoon for fashion advice on what outfit to wear to meet Min-na. When Jong-woo finally met his crush at the agreed-upon location, he took her to a seaside villa owned by Ryu. They both looked happy, especially as Ryu warmly welcomed them. Jong-woo and Min-na frequently visited Ryu's villa. The three of them became closer, and Ryu even considered Jong-woo as his own son. Several days passed, and the final match of the street fighting tournament finally took place, with Jong-woo emerging as the champion. His victory meant that he defied Jae-song's orders, especially since Jae-song had promised to free Jong-woo if he won the tournament. Sadly, Jae-song broke his promise, which made Jong-woo angry. The condition that if Jong-woo won, Jae-song would have to release all the student servants and stop bullying them forever. Without wasting any time, the battle between Jae-song and Jong-woo began. At first, Jae-song felt confident that he would win because of Jong-woo's slow movements. However, he was surprised when Jong-woo removed weights from his legs, making him more agile and able to dodge Jae-song's punches. Jong-woo also used locking techniques he had learned from Ryu and defeated his opponent until he was badly hurt, just as Jong-woo lost control and continued to attack Jae-seon relentlessly. Ryu rode and stopped Jong-woo's actions. After that incident, the bullying at school finally came to an end, and Jong-woo's martial arts training place became more popular as Jong-woo's friends joined the training. Meanwhile, Jong-woo and Min-na became closer. At the end of the story, Min-na is approached by female bullies from her previous school. They tried to belittle her for transferring schools after experiencing bullying. Calmly, Min-na reminded the bullies that she was not a victim, but someone who had bravely stood up against bullying at her previous school, which led to her transfer. Upon hearing this, the bullies fell silent in fear as they watched Min-na walk away with a sharp smile. More or less in from the story, the best way to win a fight is to invite your crush on a seaside date with your new martial arts coach, and the secret to defeating bullies is having a killer smile as you walk past them. What do you think of this recap? Please drop all your thoughts in the comments section below. One like from you and maybe subscribing would be a great support for us. And that's it for now. See you in the next videos.